Hi, I'm Richard Smith, the author of Such a Mind as This, a Biblical-Theological Study of Thinking in the Old Testament. And to make this video, I asked my two best friends to help me. And on the technical side, of course, come here, Jake, is my oldest grandson, Jacob. And to interview me and ask all the hard questions is my oldest granddaughter, Cheyenne. So, Shy, what would you like to ask me?
Well, first, Grandpa, I want to ask you what your book is about.
It's about how we should think according to the Old Testament, or how the Old Testament teaches us to think.
And what does the title mean, and especially the phrase, such a mind as this?
Such a mind as this comes from Deuteronomy 5:29, where God says, "Oh, that they would have a mind such as this, or a heart such as this, always to fear me and to keep my commandments."
Can you tell me what the diagram on the front of the book is?
Okay, the diagram really explains the whole book. It's based upon a picture that a famous professor at Westminster used to draw on the board to demonstrate the distinction between the Creator and His creation. So the larger circle signifies God. He's bigger at everything, in all His attributes and in His mind. And the smaller circle, well, that's creation. That's us. And we think like God, but much more limited in a finite way. The two lines demonstrate that God communicates to us, and we communicate to Him through prayer. You can find out more about this on page 18 in the introduction. Yeah.
The book is also long and seems difficult. Do you have any advice about how to read it?
Sure. I suppose a couple of ideas might be helpful. First of all, I would begin by reading the introduction and then skipping to the end of the book and reading the postscript and get the big picture about the book. And then secondly, as you approach every individual chapter, read the introduction and the conclusion to get the big picture about that particular chapter. And then thirdly, another strategy would be this. Skip the chapters about Ecclesiastes, about Egypt, and about Job. That's 4 chapters. And save those for a later date because they're more complex. If you know anything about Job or Ecclesiastes, you know that. So that is a third strategy that you might try. And then fourthly, I realize that your age, you don't remember what a dictionary is. You know, it's a book that has lots of words in it. But that you really need if you're going to read the book. You might encounter 1 or 2 or 3 words you hadn't known before.
One or two or three.
But then again, you're a very intelligent teenager and you know how to use, the internet. So maybe you don't need a dictionary.
Okay, so some people would say your book's too long, it uses too many big words, it's too academic for them. What would you say to that?
Well, in some respects, that's the truth. If your reading level is tweets or blogs or Facebook, yes, or any of the social media today, it's going to be challenging. But that's part of learning to love God with the mind, stepping up to the plate and learning to exercise your brain. And there's a lot of context in terms of biblical theology as well. But what I'm trying to do is stimulate or provoke curiosity and the desire to learn more. So sometimes you have to use those reading strategies I've talked about. Sometimes you have to push yourself a little harder to learn things which are difficult. One of the aspects of loving God with the mind is what we call a vigilant mind. And that means when you begin something, you finish it. So you get a lot of Bible reading in this book.
Yeah, it's a lot. Why don't I just go ahead and read the Bible?
Oh, you should do that too.
Okay, so...
But if you want to know about thinking in the Bible, then you're probably going to need a book like mine.
Okay. And so, since you're saying this book is a little harder than others to read, over what period of time should one read it?
That's a good question. I think it depends upon the reader. If you're an academic and you're used to reading complex arguments or lots of details or even reading biblical analysis, you probably can read it fairly quickly. On the other hand, for some people who get their information from other sources than, for example, from books, will find it more challenging. So in that case, it could be used as a Bible study. Actually, in many ways, the best way to read it is together with others in a group. Read a chapter and discuss it. Critique it. Agree with it. Disagree with it. Expand it. And use your imagination.